Well, the reason I decided to join your training, Heidi, is that I'd entered an event, the Highland Trail 550, which I knew was going to be a really huge test of sort of my stamina and speed and ability to cope under pressure. But I didn't feel that I had enough speed to get around the course in the time limit of 8.5 days. So I wanted to get faster. I was really struggling to ride up hills efficiently. I've always struggled with uphill riding and running. And I felt this was an area that I could improve on, but I didn't know how to do it on my own. I've been trying to train for the last couple of years, and I'd sort of plateaued. I didn't know how to get better at it. So I felt that having someone with some knowledge of training would enable me to be a bit more efficient with my training. So that was the motivator, really. I understood that as an older, somebody older trying to train, that strength training was really important, and I hadn't done any at all in my life. I'd never ever done any strength training. I'd done Pilates and yoga and things like that. So I just found some exercises on the internet that people recommended for runners over 50. So I started doing those, but it was very repetitive. It was the same exercises I was doing all the time. So again, although I improved a little bit with my strength, I felt there must be more exercises I could be doing that would help. So I just sort of come to a bit of a grinding halt with that as well. The program has helped enormously, really, with everything, all aspects of my life, not just the physical aspects. So as well as wanting to improve my sort of uphill riding speed and just endurance generally, I was struggling with things like eating habits. So I suffer quite a bit with stress and anxiety. So I found that when I was anxious or highly stressed, this would sort of trigger poor eating. So I'd go out and binge eat cakes or biscuits or chocolates or sweets. I just really crave sugary food. And that was really annoying me because, I'd be trying to sort of control my calorie intake, and then I'd have this massive binge and it would all go to pot again, and I'd feel really bad about myself. So the nutrition part of the program helped with that enormously, because I learned to eat properly and eating properly meant that I didn't have these big cravings for sugar. And then also the work that we did on, the importance of sleep and reducing stress, that also seemed to really help with this, because I was less stressed and therefore I had less urges to sort of reward myself with sugary food. So that was a massive help. So the food, the sleep, the reduction of stress, and then of course the actual learning how to train and not to. I've always pushed myself way too hard. I've learned that. And that's why I wasn't improving. I was trying to push myself all the time when I was training, pushing myself to the limit. And then I just wasn't getting any better, and I couldn't understand why. And training with you, you just kept telling me, just you're doing too much, just calm down. And I couldn't understand how that could work. But actually, by following it, it did work. And I became much more efficient on the bike. Felt really, really good. But before I went into the race, I felt so good. Never felt like that before. It was an incredible feeling. Really confident.
And tell us about the race.
Well, yeah, it was. It was a life-changing experience, actually. So I managed to get round. The cut-off time was 8.5 days, and my aim was to try and do it in the 8.5 days, and I managed to get round in 7 days, 9 hours and 9 minutes. So really over a day quicker than I was expecting. It was very hard, really, really desperate at times. I started off a bit too quickly. I think I went in feeling so good. The first 3 days, I just went mad, I think. I know I was riding sort of to about 150 to 180 Ks a day with 3,000 meters of ascent each day, and then having very little sleep because I felt great. But then by the fourth day, I sort of hit a bit of a brick wall. And then it all went a bit hard after that. I slowed right down and really suffered. And nutrition was difficult because it was so remote where I was riding, so there weren't a lot of resupply points. And I had times where I didn't have enough food, so I was, suffering a bit from lack of energy and nutrition. And I also struggled to sleep. I think because I was so full of adrenaline and excitement for the whole event. So yeah, by the fourth and fifth day, I was really suffering. I had a bit of a revival on the sixth day and felt a bit better because I had managed to get fish and chips somewhere and stocked up on my food. But yeah, I was absolutely delighted to finish in just under 7.5 days. Really, really pleased. The coaching approach was really interesting because when I first started and I was discussing the type of training I was doing with my friends who I ride with all the time, they were all really skeptical that it was going to work because, I was attempting to do a ride that was going to take whatever, about a week. And yet the training I was doing was, I wasn't doing massive rides. And all my friends kept saying to me, you've got to do big rides to get that endurance. And Heidi, you kept telling me, no, you don't have to do big rides to get that endurance. Just keep following the program. So I was really difficult at first because I'm thinking, who's right? And then, of course, obviously, I thought, well, I'm paying Heidi this money. She's got the experience. She's the trainer. I've got to follow the program. Otherwise, what's the point? So I did. I went full belt with it. Let's cut off what everybody was telling me at home. I did actually have to have serious words with my husband at one point and say to him, because he was being so negative about it. And I was like, look, I need you. You don't have to say anything positive, but can you just stop saying negative things? And he did. And just before the event, we went away for a weekend of bike packing just for fun. And he couldn't keep up with me for the first time ever. And at the end of the weekend, he said to me, I think the training's worked. So he said, I think the training's worked. And I think you're ready for this race. And all the months before that, he just kept telling me that I wasn't doing the right type of training. So that was really interesting. The training was spot on and it prepared me perfectly for what I was trying to do. The strength and conditioning has been really fantastic. And I'm continuing with that just as part of my normal weekly routine. Even if I'm not in training for an event, I will continue to do it because what I've discovered is it's such a varied program, and it's so progressive, and the exercises are changing all the time. I discovered that I had muscles in places I didn't even know there were muscles, and my body changed shape. I felt so good, what I found is that I can exercise and push myself without actually becoming injured, which in the past I've always suffered from injury all the time. Whenever I've tried to train for an event, I've usually picked up an injury. And I know now it's because I haven't been strong enough. I haven't had the muscles in the right places. So I've found that probably the strength training has been the biggest eye-opener. It's been fantastic. And it's also allowed me to recover from the injury I had, the hamstring injury I had before I started. Working with Heidi has been enlightening. It's been definitely challenging, but mainly it's been life-changing. But I feel, having been through the program, although I've been sporty and enjoyed sport all my life, actually for the first time in my life, I feel like an athlete. And that is a really good feeling. So thank you very much. So if you're in any doubt about whether you should join the program or not, and you're a bit unsure, I would say definitely go for it, because it will be a life-changing experience, and you will learn so much about yourself, and so much about how to look after yourself, how to get through a training program, how to prepare for something that you've always wanted to do, or that you've been thinking about doing. And yeah, Heidi knows her stuff. Go for it.